Hello guys, and welcome to today's project of making salted caramel. The ingredient list is in the description. You too can make this luscious and sexy caramel. My only advice when making this is to take your time and be careful. You can burn yourself if you are not paying attention. So watch closely and don't let anybody distract you when you're in the kitchen. Oh come on, just look at that. Enjoy it over ice cream, waffles, pancakes. The list can go on. Let's begin by preparing the vanilla. For this recipe, you will need 1 vanilla pod. My vanilla pod is dry and I'm going to make use of the whole thing. You will see what I mean. If you don't have a vanilla pod, you can always use vanilla essence, perhaps approximately about 30 grams of vanilla essence, depending on the strength of your vanilla essence. I like to use a vanilla pod in this case because you can see the seeds. It also adds an extra layer of richness seeing vanilla seeds in there, giving it that fine dining artisan quality. The easiest way to prepare a dried pod is to cut it in half. We want all of that. That is where the full flavor comes from. Take your knife and scrape out all the seeds. I use the pointed end of my knife to really make sure I get all the seeds. You will be surprised by how much seeds do come out. Once you have scraped out all the seeds, we can now go ahead and process the actual pod itself. Take a pestle and mortar and place the pod in. Break it down until you get a fine powder. This will provide extra flavoring. Make sure to really get all of it. Place it in the same bowl as the seeds. Now take a small pot with 240 grams of double cream and place it on the stove. Turn on the heat to medium to high. We want the cream to come to a boil. Whisk the cream so that the bottom doesn't scorch. Once it comes to a boil, pour in the seed and pod mixture. Give that a mix and bring it off the stove. Leave it to one side to infuse. Now measure out 400 grams of caster sugar. Then take a medium-sized pot, one that is relatively high enough, and place that on the stove. Turn on the heat to medium to high. Pour about 1/4 of the sugar in. Do not stir. The sugar will start to melt and become liquid. Let it. You can swirl the pot, and once more sugar has melted, you can pour in some more, but not all of it. Once you have more sugar in, then you can stir. I prefer using a wooden spoon because of its resistance to heat. Never use a whisk at this stage because we do not want to incorporate air, and a whisk can fling hot sugar onto you. Also, never walk away when doing this because the sugar can come to temperature really fast. Keep mixing and then add in more sugar. Once that has melted away, you can add in all the sugar. What we are looking for is a nice rich dark amber color. Never just rely on the color in the pot. Always bring it up with your spoon to check for the color. Due to the light in the pot, it will appear darker than you think it is. That is looking pretty good. If you are ever unsure of the caramel color, you can always check with a candy thermometer. You are looking for a temperature of in between 160 degrees to 180 degrees Celsius. If you have it more than 180 degrees Celsius, you then have burnt caramel. If you want your caramel sweeter, take it to 170 and below. But if you want it slightly bitter, then 170 to 180 degrees. I personally want my caramel to reach 175 because I am looking for that slight bitter caramel note, because chances are what you will be eating this caramel with is going to be sweet. So instead of having a sweet caramel, I want that bitter note to add to the dish, plus the salt to really bring everything into harmony. Otherwise, it's sweet, sweet, salty. But whatever temperature you do go to, take it off from the heat immediately. Otherwise, it will still continue to cook. Then remember that cream we left on the side. Pour that in straight away, and because the cream is still warm, it won't shock the caramel too much. Do be careful when doing this, as a lot of steam can escape. As long as you keep your caramel moving, you will be fine. You can leave that to one side for now, since it's off from the stove. Now we can measure the salt. I am using Malton sea salt for its sophisticated saltiness, which is rather mellow and not as harsh as table salt. I am going to put about 2 pinches, which is roughly about 5 grams. This of course you can adjust depending on how salty you want your caramel to be. Personally, I wouldn't make my salted caramel too salty because you can always add salt later as a garnish to your dessert. But it is very hard to take the salt flavor away if you have added too much now. We can go ahead and bring your caramel over. Pour the salt in and stir. We want to dissolve the salt and mix it properly. Whenever I make a sauce or custard or something like this, to really make sure it is super smooth, I will always strain the mixture with a fine strainer. It doesn't matter how many times I have made this or how confident I am, I will always strain a product like this. The last thing I want is to bite down on something hard. The fine strainer will pick up bits like the vanilla pod, any sugar that didn't get dissolved, and any salt flakes that didn't break down. It isn't a lot, but like I said, you want the caramel to be super smooth. Once you have done that, you can now incorporate 180 grams of cold cubed butter into the caramel. Do it in stages. Dump in a couple of pieces. We want to incorporate the butter slowly. The current temperature of the caramel is about 70 degrees Celsius. We had gone from 175 degrees to 70 degrees. This process is Monter or Beurre, translated to mount with butter, is a French term used to describe the process of adding or whisking in whole, cold butter into a sauce, in this case the caramel, at the end of the cooking process. This process, which is usually done off the heat, adds shine, flavor and richness. Once the first batch of butter has melted, dump in some more and repeat until all the butter has incorporated. This process is to not be confused with beurre monter, which is also a French term used to describe a butter substance made from a small amount of liquid and chunks of butter, whisk over moderate heat to melt the butter and keep it emulsified and creamy. Sauces can be made with this, and meats and fish can be rested in it to infuse a butter flavor. We are now at 37 degrees Celsius from all that mixing and incorporating. Just look at that shiny goodness. Now we can go ahead and pour that into a glass container. I want to do one final check, the spoon test. I dipped my spoon in the caramel and just look at that even coating. You can see the individual vanilla seeds, the shine is amazing and the color is sexy. Just like you came back from a holiday from the beach. I'm going to have this now. Place the caramel in the fridge uncovered to set overnight. The next day. I shall be honest with you guys, I had some more. I just want to show you the consistency the next day. This is straight from the fridge. It is flexible and it still has that shine. Let's take some out and put it in a piping bag. What a better way to enjoy some homemade caramel than to have it with some vanilla ice cream. By the way, it is 11 o'clock in the morning as I am filming this, and yes, I am having ice cream for brunch. Have a taste. Oh wow, that is so good. The sweetness of the vanilla ice cream plus the balance of bitterness and complementing saltiness is just a party in my mouth. Also, if you want the sauce to be warmed up, just place it in the microwave for a couple of seconds, stir it, and then pour it over the ice cream. And remember, just like how I mentioned, you can always add more salt. That is also allowed. Alright guys, I'm going to go and enjoy my ice cream right now. But in the meantime, as usual, it was a pleasure having you with me on this journey today. If you enjoyed what you watched, please leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe to be notified of upcoming videos. And I shall see you in the next one. Bye for now.